Oh, it's a baby. Oh, she's a baby. Charlie. Hey guys, so I was just on a coaching call with a fellow stepmom, and it was like the craziest thing. I felt like I was speaking to myself just 5 or 6 years ago, or 7 years. How long have we been married? 7 years. The stressors that she has are the same stressors that I had. The insecurities that she has are the same insecurities that I felt back then. We have the same worries, the same doubts, and the same need to put on this show like we had it all together, when really inside we were wondering what the heck we're thinking marrying a man with kids. It was great though, because I got to tell her the things that I wish that I would have known when I first became a stepmom. So when I got off the call, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna share these tidbits of information with all the stepmoms in my community, because these insecurities and these stressors, no matter what your stepfamily situation looks like, they're pretty universal. So in this video, I am gonna share with you 8 things that I wish I would have known when I first became a stepmom. The first thing is it's hard. Yeah, and I know that sounds super general, but it is. It is harder than I thought it was going to be. Even though I had this idea of the challenges that we would face, blending families, becoming a stepmom, me going from, having no kids to all of a sudden being a stepmom of 3, I did not realize how hard it was going to be. You know how they say to stepmoms, you knew what you were signing up for when you married a man with kids? No. I wish someone would have prepared me for the crazy feelings and emotions and struggles that I went through, because honestly, I did not expect it to be that hard. Number 2, perfection is bullshit. And actually, I don't even know if I'm allowed to swear. Perfection is BS, okay? When you first become a stepmom, especially a childless stepmom, you feel this pressure to act like you know what you're doing. I felt like I needed to put on a show, perfectly dressed kids, structure, routine, great meals every night, because there were so many people who thought that I had no idea what I was signing up for. But they were right. I really did have no idea what I was signing up for, but I tried so hard to put on this act and pretend like I had it all together and like I wasn't struggling, when inside I was screaming. But guys, no one knows what they're doing. Mom or stepmom, we're all just flying by the seat of our pants. We're all just figuring things out as we go. The second I let go of this pressure to put on this persona like we had it all together and like I had all the answers and like I was doing just fine, life actually just got a whole lot easier. It was so much less pressure. Next, the way someone treats you is more about them than it is about you. And this is especially true when it comes to step-family dynamics, blending families, and co-parenting. If someone is treating you like garbage, try not to take it personally. You simply may just be a trigger for someone. You may be a reminder of what they wanted for their life and what they had hoped for their life and the failed marriage. It may be about their insecurities or how they're struggling emotionally with the transition from being a first family to separate families. They may just be struggling with the divorce and the change and things that are going on in their life, and you are the new person there, so it's easy to blame it on you. Number 4, be patient with his friends and family. And I know this is such a tough one for people, because when they come into these situations, they feel like friends and extended family, especially those who are tight with the ex, don't receive them as well as they would have hoped. What's so important to remember is that they had a relationship with this couple, so they also have to mourn the loss of this couple. They may have been used to having family events with them. They may have long-standing traditions. They may have to really process the fact that this couple is no longer a part of their lives in the same capacity. And I know so many stepmoms feel like there should be loyalty to the partner, but honestly, guys, just be patient. Show them how great that you are. Let time do its thing. And I promise, as everyone kind of gets through that whole process of coming to terms with the breakup of that marriage, it will all work itself out. It's one of those situations where you just have to be patient. The next thing is stop expecting your friends and your family to understand. Seriously, one of my biggest struggles, and I know so many stepmoms struggle with this, is that they want to go talk to their family and friends about things that are going on in their step-family dynamic, and they get the whole, well, you knew what you were signing up for when you decided to marry a man with kids, when, as I said, that is so not true. The thing is you cannot understand what it's like to be a stepmom unless you're a stepmom. There's emotions that are involved, there's insecurities that are involved, and it's really, really hard to explain to someone who has never experienced it. My biggest piece of advice is to stop expecting people to understand and find yourself a real good stepmom friend. Next, your husband will never get used to not being around his kids all the time. So many stepmoms feel kind of offended or upset when their husband is upset when the kids leave. They're like, are you not excited to have time with me? Like, don't you want to have this alone time? And it's a really hard thing for a stepmom to wrap their head around, and they almost take it personally when their husband is upset when the kids go back to their moms. And it's important to remember that just because he's upset that he doesn't get to be with his kids all the time doesn't mean that he's not cherishing his time with you. So it really is two separate issues. So be patient with your husband. You know, we are 7 years in, like I said, and my husband still very much struggles when my stepkids go back to their moms. I think it's something that you never truly get used to, because no one has children thinking that they're not going to wake up with them every single day, right? Just because they wanted to end their marriage doesn't mean that they didn't want to be with their kids all the time. So it's a really hard thing for parents to process. Next, it's important to be flexible. I am all about structure and routine, and I like consistency. And when I first became a stepmom, I really tried to hone that in with my husband. I thought it was important that we had a set bedtime and set expectations. And when those weren't followed all the time, I kind of got my panties in a bunch. I'm not gonna lie. But it took me a long time to realize that, you know, your husband is not with his kids all the time. So he struggles with that. So if they're watching a movie one night and it's past bedtime, or if they're doing something special and you're kind of outside the structure and routine of your day, that's okay. It's about special time and creating memories. At the end of the day, his time is limited. So it's okay to be flexible. Structure and routine is great. And yes, it's important, but it's not the be all and end all. Next, there is no shame in being the second. So many stepmoms feel insecure about being the second wife. They feel like their firsts aren't as important because their husband's done it before with another woman. And guys, that's just not true. I sat on the stairs in my house bawling my eyes out because my husband knew what to expect before we had our daughter together. I had insecurities before our wedding. I felt like maybe it wasn't as special for him because he had walked down the aisle with someone else before. But the truth is, our firsts together are still feel like firsts, and he's really tried to make me understand that. Being the second wife, I look at it as a good thing. You are getting a better version of your partner. He has made mistakes. He has seen what happens in a marriage when you do certain things. He had a failed marriage, and I'm willing to bet that he left that marriage with lessons, and now you get a better version of him. So everyone has their past. That doesn't mean that the future with you is any less important. And I've said this before on my podcast, but would you rather have his firsts or would you rather have his lasts? I know I, for one, would like the last. Number 6, you will not always feel like the new wife. You will not always feel like the second. You will create memories together. You will have history together. As time goes on, there are going to be people who don't even think about you as being the second wife. They're just going to think about you as his wife. I know for me, it was maybe 3 years in, and I all of a sudden realized that I didn't have the same insecurities about being his second as I once had. I actually hadn't thought about it for a long time. It's just one of those situations where you have to let time do its thing. Focus on making memories, focus on creating a life together, and you know, all of a sudden you'll just feel like his wife and not the new one. Number 7, your marriage is going to get easier. It's not always going to be like this. When I first got married, I felt like we were going to have this honeymoon stage, and it was not a honeymoon stage. There was nothing honeymoon about the way that our marriage was going back then. But we had to figure out how to navigate our way. There were a lot of extra stressors that came with co-parenting. I had to figure out how to be a stepmom, how to live with children, how to figure out that. My husband and I just had a lot of extra stressors that first families or first marriages just don't have. So the good news is that as time goes on and these stressors continue to be a part of your life, because guys, they will continue to be a part of your life, you find ways to problem solve. You put systems in place to make things easier. You learn each other's conflict styles. You learn how to communicate better. So you're constantly getting better at navigating your way through this stressful situation. 7 years later, I feel like our marriage has completely transformed. The stressors, they're all still fairly similar, but the way that we deal with them is just a different way. All right, and number 8, the last thing that you need to know is if you want to improve your step family life, if you want to have a good life, girl, you got to do the work. Okay? You have to do the work. Sitting around bitching about how hard being a stepmom is not going to make being a stepmom any easier. Seriously, I'm going to say it again. Sitting around bitching about how hard things are doesn't make things any easier. You have to do the work. You need to be honest with yourself about how your actions and your reactions and your mindset may be contributing to the stressors in your life. Because at the end of the day, you cannot control how anyone else acts. The only thing that you can control are your own reactions. Having a healthy marriage, it's hard work. Being a good stepmom, it's hard work. Being a mom, it's hard work. You need to put in the effort and always be looking for ways that you can do things better. Own your crap, check in with yourself, ask yourself, am I being the best stepmom, wife, mom, all of the things that I can be? And if the answer is no, then shift how you're doing things because like I said, it's all on you. I'm gonna be totally honest here. Step parenting will sometimes feel like it's sucking the life out of you. You are going to feel like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You are going to have times when you feel like you don't have a place. You are going to struggle. You are going to experience emotions that you did not know possible and you could not have predicted. You will feel confused about when you should step up and when you should step back. It's a very, very confusing role. None of it is easy, but at the end of the day, it truly is worth it. All right, guys, that's all I have for this video. So if you are a stepmom, a new stepmom, or maybe you've been a stepmom for a few years now, and you're seeking community, you're seeking someone who understands, you are seeking resources and support because you still feel like you have no freaking idea how to handle all the extra stress, I'm gonna link some resources for you, so be sure to check them out. All right, I will chat with you guys in the next video.